like in the NFL, everyone's gauged on salary in the National Football League, not by Pro Bowls. They're gauged on production.
Yep.
And it just doesn't seem there's a lot of production here with this team that's going into the 2020 year. Barrett, Brooks, and Sileo. Please hit the like button. So we're looking at, again, where we are right now with building this offense here going into the 2022 regular season for Jalen. And we're making comparisons here with McNabb. This is McNabb's second. So McNabb in his second year took the team to the NFC Championship game?
Yep.
Okay.
And what year was that? That was
2001.
2001, right? Okay.
Okay, McNabb is 25 years old, and he threw for 3,233 yards and 25 touchdowns and almost 500 yards rushing. Here's where his offensive backfield and wideouts. Deuce Staley, Cecil Martin, Todd Pinkston, James Thrash, and Chad Lewis. Bro, I mean, he didn't have 1,000-yard rusher or receiver on that football team. And he took that team. Now, the defense here, okay, Corey Simon was not a bad ball player. Hugh Douglas is on that team, Trotter, Troy Vincent, Brian Dawkins. Pretty good football players on that defense.
Yes, really good football players on that defense.
So that defense, and they played a 43 on that defense. Hollis Thomas wasn't bad.
Yep.
Corey Simon had 7.5 sacks that season too, by the way. And Hugh Douglas had 9.5 sacks. So they got to the people through the linebackers. Trotter and Douglas. Trotter in the middle. That's somebody like they need right now on that defense,
Yes,
Barrett.
exactly.
They need somebody like Jeremiah Trotter in there because, man, I thought he was a doorstop when he played inside LB.
And those guys right there are kind of they kind of solidified, guys, because I played with half those guys on that roster were guys that they drafted, and I played with half those guys. I played with Hollis, Hugh, Mike Caldwell, who's a pretty good coach right now, Trot. I played with Troy, Bobby Taylor, Brian Dawkins. I played with half those guys.
Here's the O-line guys. Trey Thomas.
Played with him.
Jermaine Mayberry.
I played with him also.
And John Runyon.
I didn't play with Runyon, though. But, even, John Welburn was a good player. Hank Fraley was a pretty good center. And they kind of solidified.
He was a rookie that year, by the way. Fraley was a rookie that year when they went to the NFC title game.
Yep.
Man.
So, they were set all the way across. They had a, Pro Bowl kicker and David Akers. They had some pretty good players, man. I remember, Quentin Cavers, was a good linebacker, came in.
But not the roster I thought, though, Barrett. So, look at the roster that they have now. Look, Staley was very dependable. Cecil Martin, they ran a fullback. They had a fullback in the backfield at this time. Fullbacks are like almost obsolete today. Todd Pinkston, man, James Thrash were your wideouts. What's the difference between James Thrash? Well, you think that 2001 NFC Championship appearance team, you think their offensive people are better than the people that they have now? Devontae Smith, man.
Well, I'm talking about as far as, like the offensive lines are pretty comparable. In fact, I think this year's roster is a little better.
I think this group's better than that group.
Yeah, they're better.
And I think that group's good.
Yep. From the wide receiver position, all right, Smith's the only guy I think is, you would say is undoubtedly better than those guys. I think they're just a little bit better. But from a team sport aspect, I think McNabb kind of balances those things out because I know he's better right now than Jalen Hurts.
Well, and see, to me, that's the key to what you just said. Donovan makes average players around him way
Yes.
better than what Jalen does. Jalen's not able to make these guys better yet because he can't find them yet.
Yep.
I mean, there lies the difference because look at Donovan McNabb had less talent.
Way less talent. Way less talent. But I
than
think
what Jalen has.
But I think another thing that would anchor Mac's team, as opposed to this year's team, is that defense is a lot better.
Yes,
a lot better. I mean, you
a lot
can
better.
You take
that's a big time defense the Eagles had in 01.
Right. So you had big play Slay. I think Bobby Taylor and big play Slay are kind of better. You had Hollis. I mean, Hollis Thomas, right? What you want to say? Hollis Thomas and Corey Simon. They're tit for tat as far as production interior. That if you want to go from the defensive ends, I have to say that ND Kalu is better than who they have at defensive end right now. Linebackers, yep, Josh Sweat. There's no question that you're looking at the defense itself. Troy Vincent was on the other side of him. Brian Dawkins at safety. You had Trot in the middle of that defense.
And you had Hugh Douglas was the right defensive end, and the left end was Brandon Whiting.
Well, Brandon was like a guy that came in and rotational. It was ND Kalu was that guy. He was the work.
Okay.
ND Kalu was the guy out of Rice, and I played with him. And in the slot, you had Al Harris. Al Harris was one of the best slots DBs in the NFL at the time. In fact, he became a perennial Pro Bowler, while he was with the Eagle and when he left and went to the Green Bay, and then he went to the Saints. Barry Garner was a damn good linebacker also, so he's, him opposite of Trot. Carlos Edmonds was a guy that, played when they had three linebackers in. So imagine that linebacking core. You got Trot, Carlos Edmonds, and Barry Garner. Those guys in themselves, man, that's probably the best linebacking core the Eagles have had the past 20, 30 years.
Let me ask you this. I was always under the assumption Chad Lewis is better than Dallas Goedert.
Yes. Chad Lewis. I used to call him Nod. He ran the best Nod route I ever seen in my life.
I thought he was underrated.
Definitely.
On that Eagles team.
Definitely.
And I thought that Chad kind of reminded me a little bit of Zach Ertz back in the day.
That's exactly
what he was. They were kind of like that with one another. And I thought Chad, of all the tight ends that the Eagles have had over the last 25 years, I thought he was underrated. Didn't he go to the Ravens too?
I forget.
Because I thought he played somewhere else too.
I think
Chad is a better. I think he's better. He's a better tight end than Dallas Goedert. So
yes, better.
Donovan had that component there at the tight end position, and when Westbrook, when they went to the Super Bowl, he gave them that dimension. The two things that he had. Look at what they did for Donovan McNabb when they added two better football players on it. He had Westbrook they could get the ball to because he had 700 yards in catching. He had a receiver in T.O. who had 1,200. Yep. Well, why not use the same philosophy with Jalen here? Homie was in the building. He was a capologist guy. I mean, he was there in 2000. When he first got his first job with the Eagles, Howie Roseman was in the building. Why not do the same thing? Why are you not doing the same thing that you did eventually for Donovan McNabb?
When you mean the same thing. Yeah, exactly. When you mean the same thing, help him out.
Help him.
Guys like that.
Help him like you did help Donovan.
Right.
To me, that means this. Well, it just doesn't seem that you're all in on Jalen. I saw at the NFL owner meetings, I saw Sirianni say that, we love to go. Well, your actions aren't really going down that line right now where, like I said, and the money doesn't really always dictate everything, but it kind of tells you a little bit on how they're looking at constructing the team. You got a bunch of guys under $900,000 at wideout. You got a guy from the Colts because Nick likes him. You got Dallas Goedert who drops one pass out of every three. I still think he's got to be better. I know people love him, and I know they gave him the extension. But, dude, I think he needs to be better. He ain't Zach Ertz. And the problem with Ertz was every time you threw it to Zach Ertz, if he was on the 20-yard line, he was on the 20-yard line. He ain't gonna get to
no
the
yak
25.
yardage.
Right.
Yardage.
There is no yak yardage, man. That dude did not believe in that. I'm catching it and sitting down right here. And Sanders makes one too. I mean, does the money bugs me because usually when you pay for something and you pay for things that really are really great, like in the NFL, everyone's gauged on salary in the National Football League, not by Pro Bowls. They're gauged on production.
Yep.
And it just doesn't seem there's a lot of production here with this team that's going into the 2020 year, at least going into the draft.
They just, to me, I don't think they're putting their money where their mouth is. You're saying this guy is the guy you're going with going forward. You say he's going to try to help him by any means necessary, and the means are not necessarily being necessary for him. You know, you're not bringing in. I mean, and it makes you a liar to, you know, when you say those type of things, because then you look at what Miami is doing for Tua. You know, Miami's going out there and putting their money where their mouth is. You know, they're showing you better than they can tell you. They went out, got probably the number one as far as greatest athlete at the wide receiver position I've seen in a long time. You know, so he can do everything.
He's the top deep threat.
Exactly. Deep threat. You get him the ball on jet sweeps. You get him the ball on slant plays. Get the ball in his hands on little, wheel routes. He'll do the rest.
So dude, they got a 4x100 relay team down there in Miami now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But then you see the news reports out right now that, all right, Devontae Parker is on the block. You know, they're trying to put him out there, dangling out there.
Here's his numbers. Here's his numbers. 28 years old, 93 games he's played, 64 starts. He's got 338 receptions. In 7 years, he's got 47-27. His best year was 19. He had 1202. So he's capable. And in my opinion, I think that 19 year, I think that's Ryan Fitzpatrick when he was the starting quarterback in 19. I think he was the starting quarterback in Miami in 19.
Yes, he was.
And he had 1202. So, I mean, Devontae Parker, to me, if he's on the block, how much would I give up for this guy with these stats? 28 years old? Fourth rounder?
What is his value right now?
To the Eagles, a lot.
An awful lot. But through the rest of the NFL, I think he's an average guy.
Not so much.
Yeah. I think he's an average guy to everybody else in the league also. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams, trying to bust down the door to get a guy like that.
But he'd be the best guy on the Eagles.
He'd be the number one receiver on the Eagles.
So
even with Smith, he'd still be the number one passing threat with the Eagles.
Smith has not proven to me he's a one yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't argue that. Does he have potential?
Yes.
He does.
Yes.
He had 900 yards.
Predicated on the quarterback.
So I'm saying this: if you can bring Parker into the fold, it'll make him a better receiver. It'll make Smith a better receiver, and I can see both of those guys, having a lot of production. I mean, they should be 1,000-yard type of receivers, both of them, if you give them an opportunity.
With that quarterback,
I think they can be.
So you think that Jalen Hurts is a 4,000-yard passing quarterback?
I think he can be. Only because
he's going to increase, Barrett, 1,000 yards.
Reason why I say that, because just like you have said this also, these defensive coordinators have seen an entire year on Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts has become a better player. And the only way he can really become he can't become a better runner, because, I mean, he showed that ability. That's something that's innate in him. He can't take that. He will always be a great runner. So the only way that he can get better as a quarterback is to become a better passer. And with that better passing comes production if you have somebody opposite of Smith to kind of, make this defense divvy up a little bit. All right, we're going to divvy up a little of our strength of stopping the run, and force them to take a safety out of the box and put out there, because you got two receivers that can that can go out there and go to work. And if they're going to stay stagnant and say, hey, look, we're just going to be, hell bent on stopping this run and keeping that defender in, then those two guys on the outside got to go to work. They got to go out there and make their hay. And if Hurts can get the ball to him, he could be very productive because that's a lot of area that will be undefended by the defense out there on the outside. That's a lot of work that they got to cover. And I don't know if teams can do necessarily both. You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed. Do you know the best duo that the Eagles have had since Howie's been in the building in 2000? You know the best duo is?
Who's that?
2010, Djax and Jeremy Maclin.
Oh, yeah. Until they broke the band up, those two right there, they went to work because you had a sincere number one in Jeremy Maclin, which only helped Jackson, be a more dominant threat because now you have to be aware of where Mac is. Macklin's going to get open. So because he's going to get open, you got to make sure that you account for him, which leaves that safety on, over the top that he has to keep from getting behind him. And Djax was just too fast. You know what I'm saying? Just way too fast.
But that's the only duo you can think of since 2000 that the Eagles have had at wide receiver that would kind of strike some fear in game planning for a coordinator to go against the Eagles is Deshaun Jackson and Jeremy Maclin in 2010. Bro, that's 12 years ago.
Well, let me put it like this. Out of all those rosters since 2001, there's been only 3 receivers that have over 1,000 yards. And that's T.O., Djax, and Maclin. Those are the 3,000-yard receivers. Nobody else did. He had tight ends that did. You had Zach Ertz. He had 1,000 yards. But other than that, receiver-wise, there was no other receiver over 1,000 yards besides those 3 guys.
Now I know why no receiver wants to play here because of what you just said. No veteran guy in his right mind would come here.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You know why? History's tell. Everyone looks at a place. Well, look, Patrick Mahomes, man. This guy's going to get the ball to the wide receivers. That's what they do. Andy Reid gets the ball to wide. And by the way, a lot of those years were under Andy Reid, which shocks me.
Yep.
So
he threw the ball. He threw the ball a ton.
Wideouts either?
Yeah, no. He couldn't. You could see by who he brought in. And he was hell-bent on throwing the ball. That's what's mind-boggling to me. He was hell-bent on throwing the ball, but never brought in receivers. He brought in one receiver one time, and that was T.O. Everybody else they tried to draft and insert, and it just didn't work, man. It just didn't work.
You know what? And this is you know how the organization, I'm learning, doesn't like linebackers in the draft?
Yep.
They don't like free agent wide receivers.
Not really. They had Alshon, I keep saying Alshon because Alshon was a good wide receiver.
Oh, by the way, I brought up all their deals that Howie has had over the last couple of years, like the Nnamdi Asomugha. Me and Xander were going over them. Do you know that the last big time contracts that Howie has signed, not one player fulfilled the length of the contract, and some of these guys played 1 or 2 years off them deals. They were train wrecks. He's had train wreck free agent signings. He signed one guy for $63 million. He played 1 year.
Oh, yeah. Maxwell. Vernon Maxwell, the DB.
Played 1 year, signed him to a $63 million contract.
Vernon Maxwell came out the first game they play against Atlanta. And he's going against Julio Jones. So the first game he goes out, Julio torches him for like $120. So at the end of the game, he's smiling and everything, right? He's smiling, they just lost. I don't understand why he was smiling. He said, just lost. He turned around and said, hey, so the reporter asked him, hey, man, how do you feel about, Julio Jones coming out and torching you guys for over 120 yards? He said, what? He said, damn, shit, he had that many yards? That was his response, man. That was his response. You know what I'm saying? That's how he responded. Like, damn, he had that many yards?
He had that many yards.
Yeah.
Dude, that's hilarious. That's freaking funny, man.
That's how he responded to it, man. So I mean, that's it.
Hey, man, you looking forward? By the way, real quick, man, you looking forward to the Masters?
I don't watch golf that much, man. I tried, man. Do you watch it?
I watch Tiger.
Well, he's in it, right? He's coming back.
Think. I don't watch country club guys and slacks. Golf's not a sport, dude. You know why?
Why
if I could wear the same gear in playing in and go to dinner in it, that ain't a sport. Golf's not a sport. Bowling is not a sport. Okay. Dart throwing is not a sport. Those are not sports. Golf is not a sport. I mean, if you could be 80 years old and 800 pounds and wear the gear they wear and wear a belt that you could wear to your daughter's funeral or to her wedding or to her bar mitzvah, it ain't a sport, dog. Golf's not a sport, man.
Oh, I was saying Byron Maxwell. Yeah, Byron Maxwell, man.
Does it matter?
No, it didn't. And from that point,
he played 1 year, $63 million, dog.
And he continued to get torched. Now, I will say this, that he got that contract off the books the very next year.
Oh, nicely done, Howie. Hey, way to make him. Hey, watch this. Here, I'm going to congratulate you for taking your mistake and erasing it from the tablets of the annals of Eagle history. Congratulations for covering up your F up.
Yeah. He was he was actually the number one DB in free agency that year, part of Legion of Boom. They thought he was going to come in. He was the other guy opposite of Richard Sherman. That's all everybody knew about it. He was the opposite guy of Richard Sherman in that Legion of Boom.
Golf's a sport. Holy shit, man. Watch, hey, Barrett, I got my gear on, my fancy shirt, my fancy slacks, my fancy shoes. And then you get a chance to go like, hey, let's go to dinner. I don't have to change. Look at me, man. I'm ready to rock and roll. If you can wear the same gear, like I said, to dinner, I don't know, man. I ain't gonna
got to take a shower, huh?
By the way, Barrett's being racist here because he doesn't want to chase anything white for 4 hours around anywhere.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
He's Barrett Brooks. Oh, by the way, I got that Philly guy coming on. Philly 500. I'm going to put him on this afternoon.
Oh, that's what's up. There we go.
I'm going to see if this guy's worth the shit. So we're going to see if he's good. I'm going to put him on this afternoon. I think we're doing it at 4:30. And so we'll find out if he's good. We're going to have him on. We'll be back with Barrett tomorrow.